He told them he blew it. Standing in the mixed zone, cameras crowding his face, the most dominant figure skater alive looked smaller than anyone had ever seen him. "I blew it," he said. 3 words, no excuses. The man they called the Quad God had just finished 8th. 6 minutes earlier, Ilia Malinin had been the safest bet in Milan. A 5-point lead, a flawless reputation, a nickname earned by doing things no human body had done on ice before him. He skated last. He always skated last. That's where the favorites go, the closer, the finisher. Everyone in that arena expected a coronation. Instead, they watched a collapse. He fell once, then twice. The quad axel, the jump he basically invented, the jump that made him a legend before he turned 20, he didn't even attempt it. He repeatedly stumbled, leaving him in 8th place and without an individual medal. 72 points in deductions. Gone. NBC News. This is where most stories about athletes end. The villain edit, the what went wrong breakdown. But this story isn't about a fall. It's about what happens in the 6 weeks after the worst night of your career, when the whole world is still watching to see if you'll ever stand back up. Rewind. Understand what was actually happening inside his head that night, because it wasn't a technical failure, it was something far more human. Negative thoughts and traumatic moments of my life rushed into his head the moment he struck his starting pose, he later admitted. Not nerves, not jitters, a flood. "I just did not handle it," he said. Being the Olympic gold hopeful is really just a lot to deal with, especially for my age. Think about that for a second. This is a 21-year-old who'd already rewritten the technical ceiling of his sport, who'd been world champion twice over, who'd been called unbeatable by people who'd watched the sport for decades. And in the one moment that mattered more than any other, his body simply stopped listening to him. A leading sports analyst called it as big an upset in sports as we've probably ever seen, something close to the worst meltdown in figure skating history, Olympic history, by a favorite. Not a close miss, not bad luck, a complete unraveling, broadcast live with no way to hide. Here's the part nobody talks about. He wasn't just dealing with pressure from competitors, he was carrying an entire country's expectations, an entire sports marketing campaign, an entire mythology built around 3 words, Quad God. A nickname meant to celebrate him had quietly become a cage. When you're called a god, there's no room left to just be a kid who's nervous. There's no room to be human. And for a few minutes in Milan, the cage closed all the way. He left Italy without an individual medal. Reporters wanted a villain origin story. Rival skaters wanted to know if the throne was finally empty. And somewhere in Virginia, a young man who'd never lost like this had to figure out what came next, with the entire skating world watching to see if he'd ever recover his nerve. 6 weeks. That's all he got before his next real test. The World Championships in Prague. Same format, same pressure of skating last after leading the short program, exactly the position he'd been in Milan. Same quad axel decision to make. Except this time, everyone in that building had watched the footage of him crumbling on the biggest stage on Earth, US figure skating. He skated out under the lights, and something was different. 6 weeks after one of the most shocking twists of the Olympics, Malinin rebounded with a roar. He reeled off one huge jump after another, 5 quadruple jumps, and threw in a backflip for good measure. Not the quad axel. He left that jump in the past, at least for now, but everything else, every element that had betrayed him in Milan, landed clean. NPR, NBC News. When the score came up, he shouted and punched the air with relief, a total of 329.4, nearly 23 points ahead of the field, a margin so wide it wasn't even a contest. His 4th World Championship medal, his 3rd consecutive World's title, a three-peat that put him in the same sentence as legends like Nathan Chen and David Jenkins. NBC News. But the number on the scoreboard wasn't really the story. The story was what he said afterwards. It was really challenging, really hard, but with you guys, I was able to make it through, he told the crowd. His only goal that night, he admitted, had been simply to get through the program in one piece. Not a record, not a statement, just survival on his own terms, in front of the people who'd seen him at his lowest. US figure skating. He credited his parents, his coaches, for a lesson they'd repeated his entire life. Never give up. Fight for every single element, no matter what. That's not the mentality of a god. That's the mentality of someone who'd been broken in public and chosen deliberately to put himself back together in public, too. US figure skating. That's the part of this story worth sitting with. Not the 8th place finish, not even the redemption. The decision, 6 weeks after the most humiliating night of his career, to walk back out under the same kind of lights and try again anyway. The nickname will probably stick, Quad God, but maybe the real story isn't about gods at all. Maybe it's about what happens when the myth cracks open and you get to see the person underneath. The nerves, the fear, the traumatic flashes mid-performance, the fight to just finish in one piece. He's not invincible. He never was. He's just someone who fell in front of everyone and stood back up 6 weeks later in front of everyone again. That's not a god. That's something better. So here's the real question worth asking. When your worst moment happens in public with the whole world watching, do you have what it takes to walk back out there anyway? Tell me below if you think Malinin's Prague comeback erased Milan, or if some falls just stay with you forever. So that's the story. A man who built his entire identity on perfection, who earned the name Quad God through pure mathematical dominance, just stood at the highest point of his career and chose to call himself something else entirely. Maybe that's the real lesson here. The moments that define us aren't always the ones where we look perfect. Sometimes they're the ones where we fall apart in front of everyone and then decide who we're going to be next. Ilia Malinin isn't done writing this story. None of these athletes are. And that's exactly why you need to be here when the next chapter drops. If this video pulled you in, hit subscribe because this channel is where these stories get told first and told right. Drop a comment and tell me what you think happens next. I read every single one.